Guys, my name is Jennifer, and I am going to be reviewing the first episode of the fifth and final season of Bates Motel. So I haven't watched the whole show like in its entirety. I started around season 3. I was kind of I was particular about it because I didn't like that it took place in the present day, because I'm a huge fan of the original movie Psycho, and I kind of was hoping that they were actually going to keep it in the timeline. Like, if it's the early story of Norman Bates, it's going to be in the 50s probably. But they didn't do that. They had it in present day, and I was kind of unsure about that. But the show has really grown on me, and I love how it's evolved, especially in just a few seasons. Like, I think they did a great job developing the dynamic between Norman and his mother, and now we're completely caught up to the events of the film, at least before the events of the film. But we're actually getting quite a few connections now. So I'm going to start with a quick recap of the first episode, and I will talk about the connections to the film Psycho and any possible theories I have for which direction they're going to take anything in. So the episode opens with Norman living like a normal life. Everything seems happy and wonderful, like everything's completely together. And he sees his mother, she's making breakfast for him. Everything seems like it was, like, let's say at the beginning of the show, which I heard it was like they just had that really close relationship and everything was peachy keen. So what happens is we see this, everything seems great, the lighting is so bright and happy. Then he leaves and we see Mother disappear, and we see the house in its actual state, and it looks very dirty and dark, and you realize that we just saw that Norman's basically living in his head. He's seeing things the way he wants to see them. So I thought that opening was really well done, the way they did it. So to catch up, he goes to a hardware store, and there's a woman there. Her name is Madeline Loomis. And I actually looked this up. Loomis is connected most likely to the main character from the Psycho film. Sam Loomis, I believe, is his name. And so it'll be interesting to see how they connect those characters, because Madeline Loomis, she wasn't in the original film. So they kind of created her character. I think the suggestion is that she's his wife. I don't know if that's for sure, but it'll be interesting to see if that's where they go with that. So back to the show. We also catch up with Emma and Dylan. They're living off, I think, in Seattle. Not positive, but I'm pretty sure it was Seattle. And they actually have a daughter. I was quite surprised at that. Little baby girl. And they seem so happy and everything's wonderful. And who comes to the door but Dylan's father, who is actually Norma's brother. And if you guys have seen the show, you know how that relationship is. So anyway, he asks to stay there and they let him. And eventually Dylan, like, he wants to keep his father there, but at the same time he's a little unsure. But Emma's the one to make the call eventually, and she tells him to leave, so that's kind of what happens with them in the episode. They also still don't know that Norma is dead. I don't know how. You'd think it would be in the obituary or somehow it would get out, but after 18 months, they still have no idea that she's dead. So it looks like that's going to be a big part of the season, them finding out. Okay, so what happens is we also catch up with Romero, who's in jail currently. He's still serving his sentence. And he tried to get out, but it didn't work out. And he still really is affected by Norma's death. He actually has a picture of them together, and that actually was really kind of heartbreaking to see how he still really misses her. So yeah, we don't get too much of Romero in this episode, but we kind of see how he's dealing with the events from the last season. Let's see what else happens. There are a few things that happen. I don't remember exactly which order, but a man comes to the motel and his name is David Davidson. I don't know why, but that makes me laugh. And he gets the room in the next, like right next to the office. And Norman, being the creeper that he is, watches through the wall as, I'm not going to go into details with that. He's watching him with a woman and basically just being a creeper. And the phone rings and it's Mother. And so that moment is kind of interrupted, and there's like a lot going on where we see him talking to his mother, and we know that Norma's dead, but the show did a great job convincing us like there could be a realm of possibility that she'd be alive. Like, we didn't even see her dead body in this episode like we did in the promo. But basically, the story that Norman has created in his mind is that his mother faked her death and she's been hiding at the house so she doesn't go into town or anything, and she wants people to think that she's dead. That is the story he's created to cope with the fact that he killed her. And there was even a line from the movie Psycho that matricide is an unbearable truth to accept. And we definitely see this with Norman, that he would never accept the fact that he caused her death. So in his mind, he creates his own world, his own stories that he fully 100% believes. And that's kind of terrifying on its own because of how much he believes what he's created. And I really like the dynamic that we see between Norman and Norma, or I call her Psyche Norma, because it's all in his psyche. That's all she really is. But the dynamic between them is so well done, because it's all in his head, and the lines that she says, like, she knows him more than anybody. It's like, well, of course, you're his mind. But they did a great job writing this episode, I think. And I love how, even though there are connections to the movie Psycho, there's actually, it's like it's its own thing, because in the movie you don't have the dynamic between Norma and Norman. We just think Norma's alive, and we find out at the end that she's dead, and she wasn't the one killing people, it was Norman all along. That was really the only dynamic we got between them in the movie. But in the show, you really see what's going on in Norman's mind, and I really like that element. I think it's a great addition to the story itself. But, so back to the story. I'm sorry, I got really sidetracked there. He had killed somebody, and he suddenly remembers the man being killed, but he sees his mother being the one that killed him, because that is the only way he can cope with being a killer. That was how it was originally, too. He had to believe that Norma was the one killing people, not him. So even when she's dead, he has to create an imaginary version of her to still believe that she's the one doing that. So, yeah, they catch up with that aspect that he killed a man and still had his body in a bag. And the episode kind of ends where they take the body to the lake, and that's basically full circle right there. And I kept thinking when I saw the promo for this episode that, oh my god, they already killed Marion, but no, it was just this random guy that they killed. And right after he's thrown him into the lake, there's a phone call on the phone, and it turns out to be Romero. So that's how that is going to connect again. I get the feeling Romero is eventually going to get out of prison, and he's probably going to come for Norman. I don't know if it's going to be a hero moment or he's going to go psycho himself. I don't know. There's still a lot we don't know what's going to happen because they're doing a great job rewriting the story in a sense. And I love how, even though it's in present day, they've really added elements from the 50s and 60s. Like, there's more of a vintage feel now. And I really like that they've done that. I think it's a great homage to the movie. So yeah, we didn't see Marion in this episode yet. I think she might come into play next episode. I'm not sure. I'm honestly not positive if she's going to be one episode or a few. I'm not sure. I hope she has more time, but in the movie, she only had like the first act and then she was dead. So I don't know if they're going to recreate that in a sense. But it'll be really interesting to see what they do, and I think it's going to be really cool seeing Rihanna play her. And I'm not sure what's going to happen to Dylan and Emma. They have such a happy life right now, but I feel like it's going to be at jeopardy if they go visit Norman, and it looks like in the promo for the rest of the season, Dylan does go to visit Norman, and he finds out that Norma's dead. I'm hoping he does not end up dying, but I'm not sure. The show's kind of unpredictable sometimes, but I think it would really be sad if his character died, or Emma, especially after all that Emma's gone through. So I hope they at least have a happy ending by the end of the season. But like I said, unpredictable. Just my hopes. So yeah, that was basically the episode. There were a few elements here and there I might not have mentioned, but those were the big things that happened in the episode. And I'm really looking forward to the rest of the season. I'm kind of sad that it's ending now, but I think they've made the right call to end it here. Because you know how sometimes shows are doing so well, they keep going on and then they get too redundant or they start losing the story. So I think this is great that they're ending it on a good level. And I especially like that this whole season is basically going to be dedicated to connecting it with the movie Psycho. I think that's a great idea. So yeah, I'm going to leave it here. I hope you guys watch the show, and if you don't, start, because it's really, really good. It's on A&E. I'm not sure which channel that is for you guys, but it's definitely worth watching. So yeah, I'm excited for this season. Have a good day, guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye!